Okay, I'll share the screen. So,
Can you see the screen?
May I share the screen?
Yeah, you should ask like, do you see view options? And then
yeah, I don't know how I can turn it on, but still, may I make the demonstration, please?
No.
Yeah.
We will share the screen and we will give you remote control.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So there we go.
Just check that you have the control.
Yeah. Eleni, yeah. And in view options, there is an option request remote control.
In the view options?
It's for like,
yeah, okay.
Data. Can you?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Here we have it. I have asked for some. Oh yeah.
Okay. So I approved it.
But still, Oh yeah. I say I can do this. Thank you. Oh.
Don't do this.
I haven't touched anything. I was just scrolling it down and up.
Let's go to this your presentation.
Oh yeah, I see. It might be here, but it's video. So maybe this one.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it. Would it be okay if? Okay, it says this way. I think there are some problems with the connection. So when I'm touching it, it reacts in like 5 seconds. So is it okay, or like what?
It will be fine, I think.
That's
we'll
good.
try it.
Make a full screen, like, yeah. I think we're ready.
Okay.
Can you switch
anything
to the
Stop.
screen?
Not touching anything.
1 second, I'll do it. 1 second.
So maybe it would be better if I could demonstrate my screen and I'll just give you back the all options after we finish. So it would be more convenient, isn't it?
If we will not find another solution, we'll do that.
1 second, I'll do it.
Okay.
So yeah, requested.
Okay, I'll do this again.
Let's give it a final chance.
So yeah, I got it. So how can I change the slides here?
Just like change it. That?
Oh yeah, I see. Thank you. So just let me have a try. Yeah, now it should work, but it's not working. I'm just pressing it. It ignores me. It really ignores me.
Can you try using the keyboard, like the arrows on your keyboard?
Oh yeah, here. I got it. Thank you. So
I also hide the right column.
Okay, so I want to say hello, and we are Blue Colors, and we are the team from Russia. So here we're going to present you some ideas and financial strategies for IEO. So let's look what we have for the current moment. Like it started in 2018, and there were 14 countries and 19 competitors. In 2019, there was a class stagnation. In 2020, there was a class stagnation because of the coronavirus, and I hope in 2021 it will be better. And one of our aims is to bring some new people to here, and it's quite connected with our main aim is to make economics more interesting and to involve people in financial life, as I can say it. So as our Olympiad was created in Russia, our main supporters were from CIAs, so it's, for example, Higher School of Economics, it's Sberbank, and AIFC from Astana. Okay, let's continue. So here are only 12 informational. Oh, I haven't changed the slide. Sorry. Yeah, here we go. Here we can see 12 main Olympiads, which are international and quite good, as I think. And they're the most popular. On the slide, you can see just a few of them. And as you see, there's some sponsors. And there's a simple question, why the sponsors are interested in the donations into this Olympiad. It's quite simple because they're interested in new people who are in their themes and they want to do this. So to the right, you can see the winners and guys from the IEO, which are very, very good. And now they are working on their career. So what's wrong with that?
So it was mentioned earlier. So our task was to create this fundraising strategy that will bring the IEO company at least $7 million for fund creation. To accomplish this, it's obviously needed to roughly calculate the expenses of $7 billion to ask the investors to give them a strategy how we will use them. So at the left here is the roughly calculations. So we used like the bottom-up method from the McKinsey, the firm book. IEO is a young Olympiad and it needs some intensive marketing strategy. So that's why like we supposed at least a half budget that will be spent on the marketing. To the right, you can see main marketing instruments that we are supposed to use. And other numbers you can see on the screen, and there is nothing really particular about it. So let's continue. There is part 2 of budget allocation, and there are prize fund that we're supposed to create for Olympiad. There is organizers spends on the left and spends on the participants, and we suppose that it will be spent around $800 per one person for transfer, living, and other costs. So total for one event, we're supposed to use like $500,000. It's one particular International Economics Olympiad in some country per year. So let's continue. And the main thing is a sponsor market analysis. First, we need to divide the sponsors into groups, and we decided to divide them to the 4 main groups. That's like governments, foundations, companies, and universities. And we decided to find sponsors in 4 main regions. So that's European Union, United States, Switzerland, and Russian Federation. So why these 4 regions? I've checked the World Bank data for the last 2021 and checked the whole expenses on the education in the different countries that were the participants of the International Economics Olympiad already. So these 3, Switzerland, USA, and the European Union was the top 3, and Russia, as a founder of the Olympiad, is already interested in sponsoring it. So the Russia is already on the list. And we used like Big Mac index to compare countries and to make a proportion of how much money we want to ask them for. And on the table, you can see like the reverse Big Mac index is just easier to use because the bigger it is, the better. So yeah, and the distinction of payments will look like this. So we use the Pareto principle. As you could see earlier on the screen on the slide with the sponsors and Olympiads, companies, there are lots of companies and not so much of universities and governments and foundations. So companies are more interested to sponsor the Olympiad. That's why companies and foundations are like 80, and the governments and universities are 20. 20. So let's move on.
So here, give me a second. So here you can see some potential sponsors, and they're all were chosen by us. They're the only thing we were looking for. All of them have once or more invested in the learning and studying and something like this, and Olympiads, etc. So I think they all are suitable and interested in their growth like this. So let's continue.
yeah, it should be said more like about sponsors, but we don't have a lot of time. So um, about the classification of incomes between like types of sponsors and countries. So there is a table at the bottom. There is like companies, foundations, and universities and governments. There is a process, and there are countries, and the line of companies is blank. That's made on purpose because we decided to compare the companies not by the Big Mac index, because Big Mac index refers to national currency and the dollar, and companies that are like international and that trade in dollars. That's like more important um, to look at the capitalization and the cost of action of the stakes on the stakes or on markets. So we decided to compare them by that, and the proportion of incomes look like this, and the countries compared to each other using Big Mac index. So the relationship between the sums is the same that the relation between the Big Mac indexes, the reverse Big Mac indexes. Yeah. The other numbers are on the screen, and they're like more specific about the certain countries and certain universities. And let's move on. So that's the main thing with the companies and capitalization. So we went further, and using the capitalization, we decided to divide companies into 5 cohorts. So the most, the richest, like which Apple, Microsoft, and Google, then the Sberbank and Gazprom, then the Yandex and Mail.ru, and Societe Generale, and the last is the Swiss National Bank, which has the least capitalization. So the sums are pretty much the same in the cohorts. So you can see this, and the foundation, yeah, and the foundations are pretty simple. To Russians, to Switzerland's, to Germany's, and to USA ones. Yeah. The next.
So it's an interesting question. What can we offer to these companies? For big ones, a key for solving their problems and new employees. For the unknown ones, are easier to get some credits with us and some advertisement and new people, exactly. And for charities, they'll have them to increase their reputation and interest in the social media. So like this. And all they have to give us is their problems and money. And let's move on. So here I have a timeline. Let's just see. From January to April, there are usually national competitions where we are looking for some competitors. So in July we are preparing IEO 2021. So in September, we are looking for financial reports of companies to just get in their plans. And so on in December, we are trying to get the first donations. And so at April, we're trying to get the first investors, like the full ones. And in May, we are preparing everything for IEO. And in June, they get the rest of money. So I think like it was quite short, but still you can see everything on our diagram. So thank you, and I hope we were good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
So shall we now come to our answer to our questions? Yeah? If I may, I would ask you a number of questions. Firstly, how did you choose the companies that you say to be our sponsors, the huge companies that you stated?
I have another question. Can we like have the presentation to like choose the slides which refers to the question that you asked?
Yeah, I'll get back at one second.
It would help us to. Yes, that's better now.
So can we have the slide with the sponsors? Yeah.
Like the big one with the whole like icon. It's like this.
Yeah.
This one, yeah.
Thank you. So let's start from the companies. As you can see, there are many of IT corporations like Microsoft, Google, Mail.ru, and Apple, and There is a reason why we chose it because, firstly, of course, they are all nowadays are interested in the creation of big ecosystems of products, which definitely business processes are used, and the ideas that will be the problems that they have in the creation of the ecosystems can be perfectly used to create some business cases for the Olympiad. So we can provide them with clearly like good brains and maybe some ideas, and using like KPI. So it's like conversion rate. So if they have like 1,000 ideas and we like propose them like one solution and they use it, it's already good.
Okay, thank you. And what is your estimate for the timing of this process? How
Okay.
fast?
Can we like can we have the timeline? Okay, so
Let me rephrase. How fast do you think you will achieve $7 million in endowment fund?
how fast? So we think that it is possible to achieve like $7 million in a year if we like smartly ask some sums in the between the reports and plans in September, October, and have a stable relationship with the future sponsors, which we like can start to form in the August and July, just after the Olympiad.
And is it okay? Like, I want to maintain that we are not going to get all the sum at once. So as you can see, we are getting some donations in December, some of them in like February and March, and like only to the April and May, like June get the rest of money. So it's quite important because I think it's quite hard to pay everything at once. So yeah, thank you.
So thank you. I'm out of questions. Maybe.
Yeah, I'll ask a couple of questions here. Hope I'm audible to all. Am I audible to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If you can go back to this slide of I think 2 slides before this, where you were talking about what is there, what IEO can offer, something like that. One slide.
I think it is the 10th slide.
Yeah,
We should
10
go.
possible.
Yeah.
This one.
We have written here about for the big companies and the unknown companies and the charities. You have written about that. But the future employees will come after 6-7 years from now. So why should I pay the money today? How will you add that brand aspects as far as the money is considered? Because there is a net present value for the money which I'm talking about.
Isn't there like the participants of the Olympiad are like the students and high school students, so they can like go on the staging and training like in the companies, and they have already proposing you a solving of some business cases and problems, and like an investigation.
So what makes you to think about the company do not have the great employees? The list of the companies you have made, they all have great employees with them.
Because like nowadays, after the coronavirus, it's obviously some more problems with business accused, and right now it's like more.
No, for me, it looks more like a facts. Whatever you have given is more like a facts for me. Is there any way that you can justify this with couple of strategies of fundraising?
Excuse me, can you repeat, please?
I said, for me, it looks more like a facts. With the PowerPoint presentation, it looks like more like a facts. So is there any way that you can justify what you have written with couple of strategies of fundraising?
Anyway, like for your question, I can say that if you're having people who are quite interested in economics and they know what they're doing, and if they have some thoughts, so the companies will get more revenue because of people who use their money the way they are interested to do this. And so it means that they are correct doing this. And so, I mean, financial literacy helps them to improve some things in the world. And so I think big companies are quite interested in this. So that's the thing.
All right, I'm done. I think over to the next jury.
May I ask? I have a question about your aim. Can you go back to page 1, which is the very first page of your presentation? And my question is about your aim, because you mentioned that you will further the education of economics and finance in high schools, but how is everything related to this aim? I mean, you talk a lot about like your financial models, you talk a lot about like what you can offer in the future, but what are they? I don't get what they, I mean, I don't get how much they are related to your initial aim on that page. Can you specify any reasons for what's missing in your presentation? Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was a big misunderstanding. So it's like our aims. So we're talking about like the aims of the IEO and what we will like tell to the investors and why like they should even sponsor us, because the companies and universities and the charity funds are like all interested in promoting like educational, economical knowledge around the world. So it correlates with the aims of IEO and sponsors.
It's like the big aims which should be reached not in 1 year, not in one Olympiad, just they are the huge and the good ones which are important for all of us, I think.
Okay, thank you.
I think I have a question too. Thank you very much, Platon and Elizaveta, for your wonderful presentation. Can you discuss your sponsor companies again, please? So you selected companies like Google and Apple as one of your sponsors. My question is, so it's an International Economics Olympiad. So why would Google and Apple need economists? That's my first question. Apart from the fact they have, these companies already have well-established pipelines to invest in education and research and development, what are their benefits basically? Why would they need economists particularly?
I want to discuss like the even like economics Olympiad. Well, you see, the business case part is the first and one of the hardest parts that will choose like the best of the best economics and businessmen and the persons who like have business feeling and business understanding of processes. So as I said earlier, right now, after the coronavirus, lots of business problems and cases were created, and like they need solving problems. And if to say about Google, Google 2 years ago, Google have sponsored the International Mathematics Olympiad, and also International Mathematics Olympiad already have a fund, so we can have an example of how to create a fund with it. And Google had sponsored a mathematics Olympiad. Like they don't set the numbers, but they said that the number was quite big.
So anyway,
yes, I continue.
Like world is changing and new people are really needed, like new ideas and new things. I think that's just not too concrete, but still, I think it's important to state.
All right, thank you.
I think the time for the Q&A session is over.
I would like to ask one very short question. Why you chose the Big Mac index for the for choosing the right country? I mean that the only problem I see in that, I understand the idea behind it, is that Switzerland is very rich country, and Big Mac can see that, can understand that. but isn't it a very small country too? The population, their budget is very small if we put it against EU or USA. Why should they pay so much? Why would they pay so much? That's my question.
Because the Swiss banks, universities of economics are like the tops of the world. And if we talk about the companies, we didn't ask too much of the Swiss National Bank, but we asked a lot of Zurich University. And so, yes.
Okay, and also I would suggest that you used money amounts in billions in the graph, because you always had less than one, and I think one was 1 point something. You would be preferably use billions in any other case. Thank you very much. I think you did a great job, and we admired what you did.
Thank you. Yeah.
We also have a written question by Samit Kumar. Could you just read it by the chat about mathematics?
Mathematics. How would company like Google need economists, and how the team evaluated that they will be ready to donate certain figure? As I said earlier, International Economics Olympiad, as strange it sounds, it's not about like only economics and theory of economics, microeconomics, microeconomics. It's also about like a strong business case spot and business case solution and business feeling, business thinking. Yeah. So we answered this question: why world now need businessmen and business case solutions and person who understands business processes. Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you a lot. Is the next team ready?
Yeah, I will add them right now.
We have been a little bit late on schedule, so let's try to keep the questions a little bit smaller. While we are preparing for the next team, I can say that we hope to end this finals in about 2 to 2.5 hours. In the end, we will present the winners by our votes, and well, it might take some time, but while we do, I will try to give some feedback on what I have heard, and I will ask our jury members to do the same. So that's the plan for today.
We should use the Google Forms now?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
Is it that all participants are listening to our conversation here? Because we have more participants, 48. All teams are listening to us?
Not all of them.
It should be team 113. So how many of you will be?
See, total participants are 48, which implies like all of them have logged in here, or if we discuss something, then they will listen to our conversation.
Yes, I will hear that. Yes.
All right.
We could use the WhatsApp chat if something important.
There should be 3 of us.
Understood.
So is the next team ready?
I think we are waiting for one more participant. Yes, he is right now in the Zoom, but he wasn't able to. He wasn't attached right now. Can you please fix it?
Yes, could you please let them into the conference?
And what is his name?
Nadezhda Belikova.
Yeah, I see.
Yes. Now we are all here.
Start whenever you're ready, and we shall.
Can you please?
Yeah.
Can we share right now? Oh, okay.
Yes, is it yours, right?
Okay, I can't. Yes, now I think I can share it.
Do you see the presentation on the screen?
I can see presentation on the screen. However, I can't switch slides.
Okay, you need to request the remote control in the view settings. You need to press an arrow. Okay, I will give it to you. It's okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, now we can do it. Thank you very much again. And I think we're ready to start. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we, Team Brainstorm, will present our solution for the case Endowment for International Economics Olympiad. We will start with the summary of our solution. From analyzing IEO's analogs, we found that the main sponsors are government, universities, and big companies. We have chosen big companies as our main source of funding. In particular, we suggest Citigroup, PwC, Deloitte, and Sber. Using this method, we plan to attract $7.2 million over the course of 3 years. Our strategy for attracting donations will be follow a year cycle, which is described on the slide. On this slide, we will connect IEO's values with our possible donors. Firstly, we distinguish IEO's aims by analyzing its available documentation and divide them into 3 pools, respectively by their benefit. By benefit, we mean positive impact or effect that could be useful to third parties. The first pool stands for YAS development in general. The next one for building reputation and discovering talented people. The last one for improved international relations. The third column represents possible analogs of IEO in each group, which offer the same benefit, such as education projects, conferences, Olympiads, YAS development programs, and charities. Their sponsors, respectively to the benefit, are given in the last column, and here they are: private donors, wealthy philanthropic people, foundations, alumnus, universities, big companies, governments of countries, and their institutions. Next slide will be presented by my colleague Nadia.
Thank you. So to find the potential sponsors for IEO and develop the financial strategy, we have analyzed the sponsors of other nonprofit organizations. And for this, we made 2 major assumptions. That at first, we should analyze the nonprofit organizations with values similar to IEO, and that we should build an endowment fund, not just sponsor the event. So according to our first assumption, we take a look at nonprofit organizations with similar values so that their financial strategies might be suitable for our analysis. And we divided these similar events for students into 4 major groups: International Subject Olympiad, sport competitions, conferences for students, and other international student competitions. And as international subjects Olympiads are the most relevant to our case, we can see the detailed analysis on the slide. And the main insight here is that all of these events are mainly sponsored and financed by governments, universities, and private companies. And our second assumption was that we are building an endowment fund and not just sponsored event. So we should also analyze which organizations, government, universities, or companies might sponsor it. So my colleague Alina will give you a further analysis on this.
Now we will analyze all types of donors for IEO in particular by evaluating them on 3 parameters, namely, how fast can we get money, how much can we get, and what resources are required for this time of fundraising. We use color scale to make the comparison intuitive and clear. As you can see from the table, corporations still remain our best prospective sponsor. The simplest and cheapest way to get some cash quickly is simply to add a donate button to the IEO website, though it won't generate much money. Another helpful option is the universities. While they mostly do not have the means to invest big sums, we can use their help with other matters connected to organizing the event. Precise information about big companies will be presented by Sonia. We will identify the best companies to partner with. We suggest 5 criteria for an ideal donor. They need to be interested in sponsoring international education projects, belong to the financial industry, consulting, accounting, finance, have a decent reputation and a lot of money. In turn, we will offer them an opportunity to improve the company's image and make her more competitive, increase recognition of the corporation among young, talented people, and satisfy their wish to make a positive impact on society. Based on that, we recommend endowment founders to look at Citigroup, Deloitte, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Sberbank. Our research on them is given in Appendix 1. Companies offer grants programs, sponsorship, donation, in-kind donation, and corporate giving programs. 2 latter strategies couldn't be adopted since in-kind type of donation is mostly used to get equipment, while an endowment fund requires only financial help. Corporate giving programs are based on employee, thus private donations, so they are also not acceptable. Grants can be used, but these programs are very competitive. So to sum up, sponsorship, grants, and individual donation are the most relevant strategies. Conditions for this campaign involve the submission of regular reports, such as where money is spent and what our strategy looks like. As for sponsorship, other confirmed sponsors and the level of visibility matter. The next slide is about the plan of our campaign. As for required resources, it will take 3 years to build reputation and attract sponsors for endowment founders. It is also important to hire an initiative group or involve the current IEO Committee of Trustees for constant communication with donors. The yearly timeline shows an approximate plan for raising capital. The first month should be spent on document preparations, then filling in applications, negotiations, which usually lasts up to 6 years. For further information, check Appendix 2. The highly intensive period of work is expected in May, June, and July, as IEO competition is held in summer and can play a role of fundraising during this time.
Presence of other companies will send a positive signal to potential sponsors. The increased number of countries participants will lead to more companies around the world being involved, in turn increasing outreach to international corporations. In the 3rd year, this trend will continue. We will communicate with more corporations which are not connected to IEO's primary goals. We will complete raising capital and finish our campaign by hiring the endowment fund managers. Next slide. Our model suggests that we will be able to raise the required sum. The process will take 3 years, and most of the money is expected to come from corporations, the examples of which were given by my colleagues before me. As you probably know, the purpose of the endowment fund is to generate a stable income, which is used to finance the organization's operation. From the 10-year average endowment fund returns graph, you can see that we can expect a yearly yield of around 6%. We put the inflation rate to be around 2% in dollars. The competition's main operation expense will be accommodation costs and organization and promotion costs. Such a high share of promotion costs can be justified by the fact that IEO is still a developing project, which is expected to greatly increase its participation rate, as can be seen from the graph. All in all, we will raise $7.2 million. Our yearly expenses will be fully covered by no more than 4% of the endowment fund, which is close to the average share for such funds. Next slide.
Thank you very much for your attention. Here you can see our great team. Now we are happy to answer all of your questions.
Thank you a lot. You were very energetic and positive. Maybe some of the jury members have questions, please.
Yes, I do. I have a question about, your future prospect, and this could be pretty not good. I mean, like, what if companies you just mentioned, like, decline your invitation of this fundraising project? What would you do? Do you have any alternative, like, companies for doing this, or maybe you have any other answers to this?
Okay, so may I re-ask? So you ask whether we have any other backup plans, something like Plan B. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think our financial director is happy to answer this question.
Yes. First of all, I would like to mention that if you looked at the chart on the page with the financial model, you can see that not all our money comes from the companies, but a part of it actually comes from foundations, as we believe that we are fully capable of receiving certain grants. We have full confidence that we'll be able to apply for them. Another thing is that we do not plan to only rely on these 4 companies, because we are sure that other companies will be happy to follow their example, as IEO proves to be even more successful than it is now. So our strategy is diversified enough that we are sure that even if something doesn't work out with these 4 companies in particular, we will be able to find successful sponsors. Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
I have a question about rate of return on capital. Would you please jump into your financial model and show how you use it? 6%, what's that?
Yes, this is it. Okay, so again, by consequence, it's again financial director who will answer this question.
From what I understood, you asked about how we find the number of 6% and how we are going to use the money, from what I understand. Well, from what I discovered from researching this topic, we can expect the average rate of return of around 6% on capital. This is something that most endowment funds manage, even not very big endowment funds like ours. And I made the estimation of the IEO's costs, of operational costs each year. And I saw that we will be fully capable of financing it with no more than 4%, actually slightly less, but this is the details. And this way we'll be able to maintain the well, at least our endowment fund will not decrease if we follow this recommendation of spending no more than 4% of the fund. Actually, my research also indicates that this is a relatively average amount for an endowment fund to spend. Some of them spend more than 4%, around 4.5 or even 6%. So actually will be a very financially responsible endowment fund. I hope that this answers your question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the presentation. Okay, I'm sorry. You can ask.
Oh, there is time. Okay. So you girls are proposing an international endowment fund with numerous stakeholders. Do you think about the governance structure, board composition, investment committee, these kind of issues to give credibility to the initiative?
Yes, I will be happy to answer your question because it relates to finance again. As a matter of fact, I don't believe that the structure of the endowment fund is the direct part of the question we were asked to answer. In the business case, we were supposed to think how we will plan to get the money. And this question is generally something that the funds give to the people who manage them, to the financial managers. Actually, I read several papers on the subject of how these funds are managed and their structures. I think there are at least 2 in The Economist. And one of the major strategies is of endowment funds, due to their long planning horizon, is to invest in budding industries. Because they can afford to take risks, because this is the long-term investment, and they often invest in properties around the world. I think that the Oxford Fund, Oxford funds in England, and Cambridge, they have a large portfolio of properties around Britain and probably around the world. But this is something that we can choose by hiring people to manage our fund, or actually entrusting our money to a big organization which generally does this. I think that quite a few banks have programs for managing funds. If this answers your question, at least I hope so.
Yes, thanks.
Other team members actually will be really happy to answer as well. So if you have any other questions, maybe not related to financial part.
No, I think that you covered the matter very well. You solved the case in a very interesting way, and I think that you have done enough work. I would like to ask, what would we find in those QR links? What more can we see? What have you done?
Yes, actually, I personally and all our team, we really suggest to use these QRs, because this presentation, it's only like a beautiful face of our research. However, all real numbers, all real estimations are in these QRs. We have made several Excel tables. We have made several Google Docs, which present our research. So this is it. I really suggest.
Okay, we are going to do that. But your presentation was very energetic, and keep going on this way. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think we should move on in the next theme.
So all of the participants are here, like team 175.
Our teammate's name, Caroline, is not here.
Yeah, I see.
Shall I start the presentation?
Yes.
We should share the screen with the presentation. Just a moment.
Yes, sure, I will. I will, just a second. You can take the lead now.
Do they have remote control? Is this ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Just give me a second. I will open it for.
Okay.
So you can do it now.
Okay, we will start the presentation now. Thank you. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. We, Team 175, consisting of myself, Caroline, Deva, Kyla, Raisa, and Dugi, will be presenting a fundraising strategy regarding the IEOs Endowment Fund. This presentation will be continued by my colleague. Next slide, please.
So, this presentation, we're going to talk about 9 contents. The first is issues, the theoretical framework, possible donors, benefit to donors and how to attract the donors, approach to donors and instruments to use, estimation sums to us, timing, resources, and the last plan. Next, please. Here are the issues we will solve in this presentation. The first, who are the possible donors? The second, what values can be brought to the sponsor by IEO? The third, what approach and instrument to use to raise funds? The fourth, what sums to ask from the donors? And the fifth, what is the timing projection and resources for the fundraise? And the sixth, what is the plan for the endowment fund? Next, please. This is the theoretical framework that forms the basis of analysis in this presentation. The first, endowment fund, an investment fund established by a foundation that makes consistent withdrawals from invested capital. And then altruism, the willingness to bear a cost in order to benefit somebody else. And then positive externalities, the positive and compensated impact of one person's action on the well-being of a bystander. And the last, inflation, an increase in the overall level of prices in the economy. The presentation will be continued by my colleague.
Our target main donors are university, crowdfunding, firms, international organizations, and foundations. We believe that we all have the same value to support education by making this IEO. We do not consider a country as donors because it might cause bias among contestants in the IEO or a controversy provided that the winners are from the country donors. To attract the donors, we will always maintain a good relations with them by giving a promoting clear operation and fundraising plan, and also we will be updating whatever we are working on. Other than that, we are posting an educational videos on our YouTube and other social media, which shows our seriousness in applying values that can support IEO goals. With the capabilities possessed by the mentioned donor group, we believe they will have some benefit. The first and the surest is the goodwill that will improve their reputation in their community. Second, we will give a chance for the biggest donor to get their business problem made into a business case in the competitions. Third, the donors will have free advertising through our organization by putting their logo on our website and other social media. And also, they will have speaking opportunities while the competition. Last but not least, they can take an income tax charitable deduction, which is to reduce their taxable income and tax bill. Next, please.
So we have two approaches to reach our donors. The first one is by offering our services, which are International Economics Olympiad, and we will also make educational videos in the future. And the second one is same values. By showing donors that we have the same value, we can build relationships with donors and provide them an exceptional donor experience. And then having the right donation instruments can bring our fundraising to the next level. So we use these 3 instruments. The first one is website. Website is one of the first places donors will go to get more information about our organization. So we will make it easy for them to find what they're looking for. And then the second one is emails. We use emails because email fundraising campaigns are often quite effective by remaining focused and targeting specific audiences. And then the last one is social media. For the estimation sums to us, we divided it into 5 possible donors. The first one is crowdfunding. We estimated our donations from crowdfunding is 20%, and it's the same for firms and universities. For international organization, we estimated our estimations are 15%, and for foundations are 25%. We are using Khan Academy 2019 financial report as our comparisons. Khan Academy is an American nonprofit educational organization that help educate students. From their financial report, we can see that foundation and individual gifts have the most significant influence on their funding. So we assume that we can achieve a similar percentage with our crowdfunding and foundations. However, Khan Academy has not accepted financing from universities and international organizations, but they earn it from earned income. So 35% of earned income we will allocate it into international organizations and universities. And for the rest of funding, we will allocate it into firms.
To start a fundraising, we need some resources and partnerships. The first one is the donation proposals that we can use for a long term. The second one is human resources, such as partnership with investment managers, presenter teams, content creators, IEO's current structure, etc. Then, you also need a donation link and digital payment system to provide as media for donations. Next, please. These are the steps and estimated timing for IEO's endowment fund plan. In the first month, we suggest to focus on creating a donation proposals and a donation system, including establishing the website, donation link, and payment system. And from the middle of the first month until the 18 months or 6th quarter, we suggest focusing on spreading donation proposals, creating social media contents, including educational videos that will be posted on IEO website and YouTube channels, and also maintaining the website and as well as the organizations. Then, near the end of the period or in the 4th quarter, we suggest focusing on creating comprehensive donations report. And the table below one is the quarterly target we suggest to reach $7 million in 6th quarter or 18 months. In the 1st quarter, we suggest targeting $250,000. And then we assumes that more times equal more donors to reach, then more fund to collect it. We suggest making the endowment fund after every quarter, as it will bring more income from an interest rate. Until the 6th quarter, the endowment fund can sum up to more than $7 million with an assumptions of 6.5% annual interest rate. We suggest that IEO should consult with investment managers about which investments options to choose and the respective percentage. Next, please.
I will break down our budget plan on the endowment fund, which will be effective after the $7 million is collected. As shown in the previous slide, the value of the endowment fund by the IEO will be $7.182 million, with an annual return of 6.5%. 40% of the endowment income will be spent to cover the IEO's operating expenses. To grow the endowment, 50% of the income will be added back to it, while the rest, which is 10%, will be handed out in various charities as a form of dedication to society. We came up with this budget plan based on our projections of the IEO's expenses and endowment income for the following 5 years. Next slide, please. This is the conclusion and summary of our fundraising strategy. We believe that our plan will be able to sustain because it is detailed and well organized. Next slide, please. And this is our references. Next slide, please. And last, this is our appendix showing our projection of the suggested budget. Next slide. Next slide. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you for your attention. We really appreciate it. Now we will try to answer the questions you might give.
Тихо там.
Right, thank you. It was a great presentation. I have a number of questions. Firstly, why do you compare IEO only to the Khan Academy? And why do you choose such a structure of the fundraising?
I will try to answer your questions, but first of all, thank you for your questions, Mr. Alexander. Can we please go back to the estimation sums to us on a slide? Thank you. Here we can, as shown in the slide, we are comparing our estimation sums to us based on the Khan Academy's financial report. We are comparing our organization, which is the IEO, and Khan Academy because both of them are actually focusing on education, and both of them are equally non-profit organizations. We are using Khan Academy because we have learned that Khan Academy is a really firm, is a really strong organization with their funding. So I believe that the percentage of their funding will be helpful for us as well. But as shown in the financial report, they have used 35% of their earned income. But as we have learned, we assume that the IEO doesn't have any income. That is why we will ask 30% from the international organizations and the universities. Does that answer your questions?
I would add a little bit. Why do you think that the processes of the Khan Academy do have some relation to the processes of the IEO? What is similar between them?
Thank you. Thank you for your questions. As we have shown in the previous slide before this one, we are going to use the approach of the same values, which means that we are showing that we believe in the same values, in this case, which means educations to the donors. While for Khan Academy, we believe that they have the same values as we do, which is the education. They help to educate students with non-profit at all. We believe that both of them have the same values as us, which is the education. We have similar goals.
I should add something to make sure that the answer is clear. And also, we put Khan Academy as our assumptions because our investor is and Khan Academy investor have the same value of education to educate people, and then because of that, some investor of Khan Academy will be similar with IEO's investors.
Okay,
thank you. I hope that answer your questions.
Thank you. Maybe some other questions from other jury members?
Yeah, I have a question about benefits to donors. Would you please elaborate and give an example about business problem solved and tax deduction?
Exactly.
I'll explain the business problems first. For the helping business problems, we are offering the donors with the biggest donors that we can help solving their business problems by making their problems into the business case in the competitions. As we probably know that high school students or around that age might have more innovations or more creative than some adults, and that might be able to help with their problems, or probably give some ideas, new ideas or new innovations to them. Probably my colleague Kyla will explain about the tax reduction.
So when our donors when give their money to our organization, they will take an advantage about the tax deduction because they will give a reduction in income tax. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can I have a make a question? Okay. You said that you're not going to take donations and sponsorships from governments because of the risk of damaging credibility of the Olympiads. However, the governments are key partners of many Olympiads, national and international Olympiads. Don't you think that leaving government outside of it can damage the relation of the Olympiads across the planet?
I will try to answer your questions. First of all, we believe that governments are really helpful. They can be really helpful to the community of the IEO, but we believe that asking donations from them will create a controversy. Let's just say Indonesia gave the largest donors, and if the winners of the IEO are Indonesians, there will probably be a controversy. People will start saying that it is because Indonesians have given the biggest donors. Of course, we wouldn't like that, so we would try to avoid it.
I want to add something. And also, of course, we wouldn't reject the donations from the governments, but it's include the crowdfunding. Not we ask to the governments, but if the governments want to give the donations, they can include the crowdfunding donations.
Okay. A small follow-up question. You guys are saying that there is a possible conflict of interest of the government being a big donor, and for example, the winners of the edition being from this government. Don't you see a similar risk with universities donating? And a lot of universities have run also high schools, and freshmen can also compete in the International Olympiad if they are the biggest donors and the winners are from this university. How would you tackle this issue of credibility?
Thank you for your question. Probably my colleague Dafa would be able to help, will be able to answer this question.
All right. Universities and country is quietly different, and universities are usually independent organizations, and they have the small risks with what you say, like they choose some school to be the winner because that's the external part of the university. However, if the countries, if the governments donate, the citizen is internal part of the government. So I think there will be quite difference in risks of university and governments.
I have one question to the team. What is the value which IEO can create to the society? In case if you can answer this question, probably the funds will come to IEO. So how will you address this? What is the value which IEO can create to the society?
Oh, thank you for the questions. I will try to answer this question. First of all, we are trying to attract the donors through posting educational videos. So we have learned that a lot of students started learning through YouTube or through social media or through websites. And posting educational videos will really help the students to learn more, especially about the financial literacy and economics, which is also one of the IEO's goals. Aside of the educational videos, we are also giving out charities, which is about 10% of the endowment income. And these charities will be given out to lots of places. Let's just say for libraries or for poor students or any kinds of charities, so that we can help the society in this way too.
Okay, I'm done. The other juries can take it up.
Yeah, I think I have a very brief question. So I didn't quite get it about the educational videos. So is it the way you would approach sponsors? Could you please expand on that? And also, how would you fund? How would you sponsor the production of these videos, these educational videos? Because you also need money to do that. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for the question. I will try to answer. When it comes to the educational videos, we are going to fund it through the alumni. So we are going to contact the alumni and ask them to make the videos or try to teach. And for the funding and for the expenses, we are trying to actually ask the alumni to do it for free as a dedication to the society. And that will actually add to a positive value. But if they don't want to, we have actually given out a budget, which is actually in the appendix. And we count it as the operating expenses. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks. And what would be the content of these videos? So would they target students or would they target organizations?
Thank you. As for the educational videos, we are trying to target them to students in general, especially around the world, because we are posting them on the social media websites and YouTube, which are really, really easily accessible to students. But we don't limit them to students only. Organizations are totally free to do the same thing.
Thanks.
Are there any more questions, please? We would love to answer.
I think we do not have much time for that. It's very short, the time we have. I would like to ask if any advertisements were a problem in an Olympiad, how you see that idea of advertising something into an Olympiad. Is it fine according to your understanding or not?
Thank you for your question. Probably one of my colleagues would be able to answer this question.
Okay, basically, advertising, what's we mean advertising is advertising in our social media, especially Instagram and our website, to put their symbols or some of their jargon in there, and it's will not affects the it will not affects our activity of International Economic Olympiad. So it's probably okay to be including the advertising into our plan. Maybe my colleagues wanna add something.
I would love to add a simple thing. We have actually seen it in the IEO website as well, that they have put some logos inside, which are the bank and the university, HSE University and the bank. And so so we assume that it will be fine since it has been done before. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think we should move in the next team. Thank you for being here and congratulations for making it, being in the first 6 teams.
We would like to thank all of you to accept us here, for having us here. Thank you for this opportunity. Have a nice day.
So are all of the participants here?
I think we have only 3 of them.
Yeah.
Should we wait for more?
So we have 2 more left, which is Zulfan Yahya and Kalista Veronica.
Just don't see them in the list. And who else?
One more, Zulfan.
I think I am not the organizer here.
Zulfan are not using team number, he using team name Sparrows.
Excuse me, may I have the permission to start the video, please?
Okay, I will be starting the presentation right now. Wait a second. Can you see it? Is everything okay?
Yeah, please go ahead.
I suppose I will give the right. Okay. Go ahead. Good luck.
Okay, can we start the presentation now?
Yes, do please.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
start. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It is an honor to greet the Board of Judges and all of IEOx WinterChallenge community from here. We are Team Sparrow with registration number 159. Now, we are going to present about creating the IEO Endowment Fund, the ARC approach. And the first slide will be presented by my colleague.
Firstly, let us take a look at IEO at a glance. The IEO in general is first held in Moscow in 2018 with participants paying no entrance fee, thus creating IEO a non-profit Olympiad. Up until 2020, the IEO has reached a number of participants competing from 29 countries worldwide. The IEO has three main divisions for scoring, which are financial literacy simulation, economics test, and a business case study. Current and past partners of IEO vary, from banks, government, and private corporations, notable professors and experts, and also additional support from government officials. The IEO has set its goals and aims to be the following, which has helped affiliated stakeholders solve problems such as lack of economics in school curriculum, education on financial literacy, as well as teamwork and management training. Next slide, please. Further on, let us dive right into the case by firstly examining what IEO has for stakeholders, as well as an application of an economic concept into the case. As mentioned before, the IEO provides solutions on education and economics and financial literacy, opportunities on leadership, discoveries, and recognition on talented young people on the field. These will be needed greatly for the stakeholders, especially ones who experience an asymmetric information, meaning there's a difference in two or more parties' access to relevant knowledge about the things as mentioned before. Thus, IEO solves the problem of asymmetric information by signaling, which is an action taken by an informed party. This case is the IEO to reveal private information to an uninformed party, which are the stakeholders. Now, the case here is the IEO needs $7 million for an endowment fund needed immediately to be called a success. So the IEO will need to identify potential donors, which now will be presented by my colleague.
In this slide, we have identified 4 potential donors by using signaling approach to understand their needs and achieve win-win solutions. First, financial service, which can use IEO as channels to enhance financial literacy. Because they have large financial resource, they will be the main donor. Looking at Bank of America, that was willing to give $200 million to promote financial literacy. Secondly, foundation and individuals. As they want to give meaningful contribution to IEO community, they will give support in endowment. For example, Open Society Foundation allocated $22.4 million for education support. Third, universities. As they spend huge efforts on filtering high school students, we can help them finding potential students in this IEO competition. Take HSC University, allocated more than $1.2 million on funding support. Last but not least, corporations. They can use the business case competition to solve their business issue, but at the same time, as promotion media. For example, Novo Nordisk, with total funding support around $8 million. Therefore, we are targeting 50% of the endowment fund from financial service, 30% from individual and foundation, and each 10% from universities and corporations. Next slide will be presented by my colleague.
Here we provide a comprehensive way to raise the funds needed. By taking into consideration that IEO will want its endowment fund of $7 million to be done as fast as possible, we propose those donors to make a one-time big gift and grant in advance. In order to guarantee the successfulness of this endowment fund project, we propose 3 solid approaches in raising the funds, which are the awareness, relationships, and credibility. We name it the ARC approach. Starting with awareness. So awareness involves building public awareness of the IEO's fundraising campaign. The resources needed to do this are the Google AdWords, email marketing, and other online resources. The second one is relationship. It is all about establishing a well-organized communication with the donors. To do this effectively, focus on proposing win-win solutions by using signaling approach. Last but not least, the credibility. It is about gaining the trust from the potential donors. This can be done by showcasing the IEO's previous successful programs in a way that highlights IEO's expertise to make it appear legitimate. Make sure to prioritize the financial services first, as IEO can leverage their reputation to attract the other potential donors. Moving on to the key steps and the timeline that we propose. We target all the donors will approve and grant their gifts by the 12th month. As mentioned before, the financial services should be prioritized. Therefore, in the first month, IEO should hold direct meetings with them first. It usually takes 3 to 6 months for them to approve it. In the first month, IEO should also establish integrated donation link in their website for the individuals to donate. Meanwhile, IEO can start to hold direct meetings with corporations and university in the 4th month, and we expect the funds will be given by the 9th month. At last, the request for proposal, letters of inquiry, or the concept papers should be submitted to the foundation in the 4th month as well, so that the funds will be granted no longer than the 12th month. The next slide will be continued by my colleague.
Now, I'm going to tell you about the management and allocation of the IEO endowment funds. There are 2 main reasons why endowment funds are being invested. First is to generate high enough real return to cover yearly withdrawals without taking any from the principals. And the second one is to preserve the real value of the principals against inflation. To find out which investment alternative we should choose, first we need to calculate our target return on investment. To calculate it, we add up 5% with the inflation rate. 5% comes from the 5% payout rule, which states that foundations must distribute 5% of the value of their net investment assets annually to prevent foundations from receiving assets but never spending any funds on charitable purposes. Back to the calculation. For the inflation rate, here we are using the average world inflation rate for the last 10 years, which is 2.655%, resulting in a target return of approximately 7.7%. Next slide, please. Next, I'm going to tell you about the investment alternatives. There are 3 main investing options for endowment funds. The first one is hiring internal managers, then hiring external managers, and the last one is using unitized endowment pool, which is a form of investing that is similar to mutual funds but only available to endowments, not to the public. Here, we also recommend several investment instruments that are suitable for the IEO endowment fund, which consists of bonds, public equity, and hedge fund. Next, the presentation will be continued by my colleague.
And this is the risk and key success of IEO endowment. Using the risk matrix, we can identify the lowest risk, which is high-level mandate from the donor side. Every donors are expecting certain value or impact from their donations. And because both donors and recipient are in the same field and have parallel goals, we can conclude that IEO will face low risk and even no risk. And move to socio-political pressure, which in some cases, government bureaucrats are giving pressure to prevent donating to different social and political affiliations. Since this is unlikely to happen, we also classify this as a low risk. And when the economic facing downturn, many people cut back on their donations because they simply don't have as much disposable income as they used to, giving the high risk for the fundraising activity. However, this come and go on unpredictable schedule, but still possible to happen. And at the highest risk, there are fund availability. IEO have to anticipate if the target amounts of funds being not achieved. Regarding to the risk, there are 4 key of success. First, endowment funds are meant to last because they serve a long-term purpose. After that is policy openness. Policy that is conducive or at least not adverse to building an endowment is an important prerequisite. Another important one is legal vehicle. If there is a donor, there must be an entity that is legally accountable and politically acceptable to the donor to receive and manage the funds. And last but not least is high priority item. Given a particular society's or donors' many concerns, IEO needs to determine priorities and allocate its resources accordingly. To conclude our presentation, the IEO should aim for potential donors using the ARCH approach to fulfill its targeted contributions, as well as following the key steps in order to raise sufficient funds. The endowment fund must be efficiently allocated to generate high return in the suggested investment instruments by using the payout rule and taking into account the inflation rate to make a successful endowment.
And here are the references that we use. Next slide, please. And these are the appendix. And that's all for our presentation. Thank you for your attention. We really appreciate it. We are now more than happy to answer the questions from the honorable judges.
Thank you very much. I have a question about your future plan. Can you tell me if you have any priorities? I mean, just like what to do in the future, because I mean, it is simply like a timeline of what to do in the future. Did you get it?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Let me try to answer it. Then my friends will complement my answer first. So if you're talking about our further steps, right?
Yes, that's what to do in the future. Which one comes
what
first?
should IEO do in the future? So we are now see that in the key steps. Can you please move the slides to key steps? Okay, we see here that in this slide we propose 3 steps to create the endowment fund from our potential donors. Here we see that the key step were direct meeting with executive board to gain the funds from the financial service corporation and universities, and we submit the documents to gain the funds from foundations, and we like creating our channels in the form of online donation through the IEO official website. Maybe my teammate would like to complement my answer.
To complement the answer, as we collect the endowment funds, we will invest it into a proper investment instrument that we have explained before. We will find and choose the right and the proper entity to collect and manage the funds. And also our goals or our plan in the future is, as we have explained before, we will do the high priority item. So if the financial services is the best or is the major targeted contributions, so if there are if the benefits that they want is to enhance the financial literacy, so maybe in the first or in the second or in the first year, we will focus to enhance to improve the financial literacy as what required by the financial services as our major contributor.
Okay, thank you. I think there might be some other questions from the jury members.
Yeah, I have one question here. I like the way you have prepared this risk matrix. Do you have any suggestions as far as risk mitigation techniques are considered here?
Okay, maybe I will explain starting from the highest risk, which is the fine availability. If until the prospective time we haven't gathered the targeted amounts of funds, so maybe the IEO have to to change the plan that we have made before, and maybe with the smaller initial investment, maybe we can put it into a riskier financial instrument with that give higher return, so that with a smaller investment we can get the same return in every year. And for
no, let me correct here. You're talking about plan B. In case if we don't raise the funds, like this, then what IEO can do? My question is, how can you minimize these risks? Or is there any way that you can minimize these risks and you can raise the funds as fast as possible?
Maybe for the mitigating the risk, we have explained in the prerequisite for the success. We such as making the policy to be open for both the recipient and also the donors. So maybe we can mitigate the social political pressure, because everything is legal, everything is clear, what we have to do, what we don't have to do. And maybe my friends want to add something.
Well, let I add my friend's answer. So when to mitigate, for example, the first point, the general economic condition, we know that economic is like can be downturn or upturn, so that to maintain these funds so that the risk could be mitigated, we should prioritize the long-term purpose. So the investment should be in the purpose for the long term, so that the investment do not take high risk. I think that's from me.
All right, over to the next jury members.
I have a question about value proposition. So would you please go back to identifying donors slide?
I'm sorry, are you asking for what's the benefit for donors?
Yes, benefits for donors, actually, you expect 50% coming from financial services.
Okay, thank
general,
you for the...
No, hold on. In general, I like your presentation, it's quite high level. And in this specific case, when you go for money, I expect that when you go to financial services, you should be quite pragmatic and give a concrete value proposition. So I would elaborate a little bit more what you plan to give to donors in exchange for their sponsorship.
Okay, so the value that we give to donors, right? That I get. So okay. So thank you for the question. I will try to answer. When we're talking about the value to the donors, we in the real scenario, like this slide, we know that IEO has more relevant knowledge compared to these parties. For instance, how in financial service, how should banks allocate their funds to promote financial literacy? And universities, how universities can capture potential students to fill their limited student capacity, and how individuals and foundations give meaningful contribution for IEO community. And the last one is how cooperation can increase their brand awareness. For example, how they promote their brands. And IEO acts take role as with the form of creating an endowment fund that could solve all these major problems. And so in economic theory, we associated this situation as signaling. So we name it signaling approach because we assume that IEO reveal the knowledge, the channels to create endowment funds so that all these parties could solve their problems. I think that's from me. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions about this presentation? I found it great. I think you did a great job with the presentation itself, with the slides. It's very beautiful. And also it has interesting content. I think that if we do not have other questions, we could move on the next theme, maybe. Okay. So thank you very much for being here. And
Thank you very much
congratulations.
also. It's our pleasure too for being here to present in front of honorable jury and other participants. Thank you.
It was very interesting. Thank you. Bye.
Sorry, I cannot start video because the host has stopped it.
Maybe we should allow Sylvia has her video. Great.
Shall I start the screen sharing now?
Of course.
Perfect. I will control the slides, guys. So just indicate whenever you want me to change the slide.
Okay, thank you. Can we start the presentation now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good day, honorable judges, ladies and gentlemen. We are Team Gains, and on this occasion, we'll be presenting our fundraising program and strategy with the name Economy and Us. Next slide, please. Our strategy will raise $7 million of endowment fund in 1 year. We divide our analysis into 3 questions. What, how, and why. So Economy and Us is a fundraising program for the IEO, a non-profit organization in need of a $7 million endowment fund as soon as possible. With this program, the goal will be achieved in 1 year. How our strategy works? So we're gonna analyze our potential donors and our sponsor and divide it into subgroup using Missy principle. That subgroup will influence how we perceive their possible value received and approach strategies. After that, we will calculate the estimate fund of $7 million received long 1 year. Why the program is needed? Because IEO intend to any participation fee in the IEO and IOX. Besides that, those events absolutely have cost or expense. So Economy and Us is established to solve this problem. Next, please. Could you next slide? This is the potential donors and our sponsor. They are sorted by their expected willingness to donate or sponsor. There are 3 types, type A, B, and C. This is also considered by the amount of best donation that stakeholder have given to other charity fundraising. The first one is type A, that our main donors and our sponsor, because type A has the highest willingness to donate or sponsor, that range between 0.1 million until less than $2 million. Type A including economic Nobel Prize winner, reputable bank that have close past partnership like PJSC as a bank, and also millionaires who take interest in the economic field, or those that take interest in the philanthropy. The second type is type B that have range between $50 until less than $0.1 million. Type B consists of the educational institution that involved in the IEO event, including the university, and also reputable bank and companies, especially who take interest in the economy and finance field, will also put in this type B. The last is type C that have range between $50 until less. The last is type C that have range between $5 until less than $50. Type C consists of the general public and their connection. The things to keep attention that it is not unlikely and not limited. Like that example, a type C target can become a type A and so on. Next, please. Could you next? Yeah, thank you.
Our chosen donors and sponsors are based off a number of frameworks. The first is charitable giving, where we consider people who have a sense of responsibility or pride to the IO as our main donors. Then for organizational identification, we consider donors who feel connected to the IO as an organization. For social identification, we consider targeting donors with the same social group goals, and thus our fundraising will be able to be more appealing to them. Then for economics, we consider donors who highly benefit or will receive utility from donating to us. Then for services philanthropic, we consider donors who have benefited from IO in the past. And lastly is relationship marketing, where we analyze each stakeholder's relationship with the IO, ranging from transactional to highly relational. We can also use this framework to consider estimating donation amounts to ask for later on. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Can you, next slide, please?
I think we have a little delay, but
Sorry,
we'll solve that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, this delay will not reduce our time presenting, right?
We will add you.
Of course not.
Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I will share screen. 1 second.
Okay, thank you, this one. Okay, can I resume?
Of course, you can continue.
Okay. As stated in the slide before, fundraising is based off altruism and thus will affect how it is collected. Therefore, we need to emphasize the values the potential donors and sponsors will receive, which will range from healthy partnerships with the IO to tax deductible, as well as influence from donors or sponsors to its economics. And then there is donors' legacy, as well as exposure from gaining advertisements and giving off a good image to the public. And lastly is satisfaction from using their equity for giving positive impacts to the organization they care about. To further persuade our potential donors or sponsors, we laid out IO's situation in this fundraising using the SWOT analysis. We analyzed that the strengths of the IO lie in the quality of their participants, their successful past IOs, and their good networking. As for the weaknesses, it is that IO is a newly established Olympiad, but this can be debated of how successful past IOs have been. As for the opportunities, it is a rising number of countries participating in the IO every year, which will contribute to sustainability of the IO. And lastly is threats from competition from other potential upcoming Olympiads. But this can be helped by further expanding our partnerships and our networking through this fundraising. Next slide, please.
We have 4 fundraising strategies. First is invitation for introduction program. We'll email our potential donors a proposal and Zoom link containing an official introduction to the program. Second, campaign through social media. Campaign through our social media accounts such as IG or YouTube by making storytelling videos with IEO alumni about the benefits and how IEO has changed their life. Third, donor legacy. Maintaining better relationship with donors so that they believe in our programs and include us as the one of the legator. And the last, public donation through fundraising apps or websites. We compare strategies from other nonprofit organizations like American Cancer Society. Their strategies is personal donation. Second, Ford Foundation. Their strategies is donation gifts since establishment and bequest. And the last, Franco Santa Fe Foundation. Their strategies are campaigns, maintaining relationship, or by providing opportunities to endorse specific aspect. Next slide, please.
Okay, our fundraising strategy will reach an endowment fund of $7 million in 1 year. The $7 million comes from the total donations of type A, B, and C donors. We analyze how much it costs and donations to be collected to obtain the $7 million endowment fund. Cost of these fundraising strategies come from the transaction fees of using the fundraising website, example like GoFundMe. This fundraising website intended for the type C donors. Okay, we calculate the cost by find the average cost of transaction fees, then multiplying it by the number of Type C donors. So the average cost of transaction fee is 2.9% times the value of donations plus $0.03 per donations. Then we find the average net expected donations by subtracting the average gross expected donations to the average cost. The calculation as follows. After we calculate the cost, we analyze how many donors must be obtained to reach our target total donation in each type donors. So the number of donors we need is equal to the value of target total donation divided by the average expected donations in each type donors. With these calculations, we need 4 donors from type A, 54 donors from type B, and 11,248 donors from type C. Next slide, please. This strategy will take 1 year to raise the $7 million of endowment fund. It is start from the end of IEO 2021 ahead the launch of IEO 2022, with the assumption that 1 year is sufficient for donors to provide certainty to donate or not. We'll also consider the large companies and institutions that generally have to wait the next financial period to make decisions. To achieve the $7 million of endowment fund, we need the cooperation of several resources. There is social media as a place to campaign and introduce our program, influencer and alumni, people who attract wider community and public to donate, economy and us work group, the work group that arranged this program and reached the goal, and the last one is fundraising website as a website or place where donors donate their money. Next slide, please.
Economy and Us fundraising will help build the endowment funds to run the IEO that will be held each year. This fundraising aims to help IEO in expanding its opportunities and events in the course of its goals. As much as 5% of the fund will be allocated for IEO event in that year. We choose 5% because of the concept of 5% rule, which has proved to be effective and efficient for other non-profit organizations. There are several things needed to finance IEO activities. The first one is operational part. They are needed such as for judges' fees, costs for making questions and web examinations, consumptions, and other operational activities. The second part is prizes that will be given as appreciation to the winner for instance, medals, certificates, and merchandises. Next, winner scholarship. To provide opportunities for adolescents to gain higher knowledge and education, IEO will provide educational scholarships for the winner who are able to compete in economic, finance, and business. And the last part are other expenses such as unexpected expenses after event IEO and other educational and research of economic needs. And then as much as 95% will be invested to expand the donation fund. This is done to expand funding so that the economy and us could become bigger and be able to finance IEO activities in the future. Next slide, please. And that's all from us. And we really appreciate for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, guys. It's amazing. I would like to ask you about the inclusion of the alumni. You have spoken that you would like to include alumni in the process of fundraising, and why do you think would they be interested in that? What is their incentive?
Okay, I would like, thank you for the question. I would like to try and answer. For the inclusion of the alumni, can we please go back to the slide of the theoretical frameworks, please?
Just say where to stop.
Okay. Okay, stop here. Okay. Previous one. Oh, sorry, go on to the 4th slide, I think. Yes, this one. Okay, here we have based off why we choose these donors or sponsors to contribute to this fundraising to help us give donors or sponsors. And here alumni will be categorized to the charitable giving, as well as organizational identification and economics, as well as services philanthropy. We know that the IEO alumni have benefited from IEO in the past. They have received lots of beneficial factors, and thus we will C, the service is philanthropic. People's behavior are influenced by service value, service quality, and satisfaction. Therefore, the higher the satisfaction, the higher the alumni will want to contribute to this fundraising. As well as the organizational identification, these alumni feel a sense of relation to this IO as an organization, and for charitable giving, these alumni feel a responsibility or pride to the IO. And for economics, they will feel the utility from donating to us. So for the alumni, not only will they potentially donate to us, but also they will help in this fundraising by making promotions and helping us with the advertising and the exposure of this fundraising. So this alumni, it is known that through altruism, alumni is known to be to want to pay back to their alma mater or their the place they graduated or something. And this is why we express the altruism in the alumni by making them feel that they have a sense of responsibility or pride to the IO, and thus will want to help us in this fundraising. Maybe some of my teammates will want to complement my answer. Thank you.
Okay, can I add something? By work with the alumni as an influencer that inform this program to wider community and public to donate, it will attract our possible donate to join this program, because the people who promote this campaign is the people who really know what and who really feels the benefit on the IO, because they is the alumni. So yeah, maybe that's all for me. Thank you.
Great. That works for me. But still, how do you connect this to the time frame that you have stated? For our alumni, well, we have already been 3 times. We have Olympiad went for 3 years, but our alumni are still not in the space, in the working space. They are still students. And you suggest that we will move on to the 7 millions in 1 year?
Thank you for the question. We have acknowledged that this IO is established only from 2018, and therefore our alumni are maybe fresh from high school or in college, and therefore not working yet. And therefore, our alumni, we target them in this fundraising to have a position to promote our fundraising and not to give a whole lot of donations like some of the expected donations we have targeted from bigger companies and bigger institutions. As seen in the slide before, in the expected donations, it is said that the alumni, we put them in type C, that is from $5 ranging to $50. That is why in this alumni, we hope that they will give donations as well as the promotions simply from their social media or their networking. And it is known that IO alumni have really good networking from all over the world. So this will potentially help us in the exposure of our fundraising. As said in the appendix, can we please go to the 13th slide, please? These are some of our recommendation IO alumni or community influencers. Here we will hope for them to help us to expose this fundraising to even more globally potential donors and sponsors. And maybe my teammates will want to add to my answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask only one question, because your analysis has been great, and the differentiating donors to 3 types is interesting too. I would like to ask in which company, in which organization, in which government, in who would you start? Who would you start with? Who is the organization that you would ask to give us fund first, if you had to? More specifically, which organization?
The example of company that will give our donations, right? Okay, thank you.
Would ask for your donation, for our donations. In which company you would ask to donate first?
Okay, can we go to the maybe second slide, I guess? Oh, no, the third slide. Okay, this in the sections, we already give our recommendations and our analysis of who the companies that give the donation from us. Is it from, there is the HSA University, Prespresnas as the high school Olympics institutions, and there is a PGC Bank and other companies. And we already analyzed this. There's a McKinsey company and Baron company, a company that consulting company that in the several other charity fundraising, they are giving the donations with the amount arranged the 50 until the $0.9 million. That's all our analysis from these sections of donors.
I would like to add a bit. Maybe we would start from the institutions we would ask for this fundraising. We would start from the institutions that have close past partnerships with us, and therefore it will have a more higher possibility for us to receive donations from them first than us approaching the other institutions which we have not done partnerships yet. And therefore, if we have received donations from these close past partnerships first, we can use this information to therefore give off to the other institutions which we don't have close past partnerships as endorsements or proof that we are trusted for this donation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Still on the issue of company donations, what kind of direct value you see that the Olympiad can return to them? To what extent do you think they could influence, for example, organizing decisions, and how would you handle possible conflict of interests?
Okay, is it your question as why the companies want to donate in our program? The reason, or?
Yes, what besides pure altruism? Like they could make marketing at the events, they could make decisions about where the host country will be, those kind of things, and to what extent?
Okay, thank you for the question. Maybe we can go to the fourth slide, please. I'm sorry, fifth.
Which slide?
The fifth one, please. Okay, here we have laid out the values potential donors and sponsors will receive. For big institutions and corporations, maybe we can apply the healthy partnerships for the from them towards the IEO for the upcoming future. And then there's tax deductible. We can promote this tax deductible as one of the benefits of receiving direct benefits. So as we know, tax deductible, they have certain donations that can have the ability to reduce taxable income, and therefore, instead of that corporation allocating their funds for tax, they can allocate it for donations towards us. And unlike tax that we will not feel the direct benefits, we will feel these corporations will feel direct benefits from donating to us. So it is like an opportunity cost, and from choosing to allocate their funds from tax towards our donations. So from donating, it will be more beneficial from them because of the direct benefits. These direct benefits can be giving off a good image to the public, as well as advertising and etc. And then for the millionaires, for example, they have donors legacy, which will this will contribute to altruism as well, I guess. For donors legacy, this will give utility for them from feeling that they will help this IO in the upcoming future. Also for I would like to add, as well for influence, it is that donors and sponsors can influence the way economics. What we mean here is not directly influencing economics through the test of the economics test here, but through how they are helping by giving funds to the IEO, and therefore these benefits will they will feel these benefits in the long run from how their potential hires or interns will be more qualified and have a better quality to them, as well as institutions like schools or educational institutions. They will have, for colleges, they will have new freshmen that are more qualified for their program. Thank you. That is all.
Guys, thank you for your answers. I think it's time for us to move on, and thank you for your presentation. So please, next team.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Maybe we should answer Joseph's question, if it is quite simple. And could you please, Joseph, ask?
Yeah, it's okay. I would like to ask a question about page number 9. You just mentioned that like 95% of your the fund would be put into investment. How can you convince like donors to donate? Because if they think, okay, 95% of their donation will be put into further investment rather than your core aims, core purposes, then how could they be convinced? Yeah, this is my question.
Okay, your questions is why we put our 95% of our endowment fund to investment, right?
Yeah. How can you convince donors? Because you have to let people know how much the fund, how much like the money they donate is put in what purposes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I will try to answer the question. So in this case, we put the 95% of our endowment fund will be invested is our aims to expanding our IO endowment fund amount, because we have analysis that if the endowment fund is getting the increase or the larger the endowment fund, so the greater the amount of funds for the future IO events, and we need to the long run that this program with sustainability, and this 5% of the endowment fund in the futures can really paid off all the IO events. So our purpose is to put our endowment fund to this to pay to IO event. Maybe my teammate will add something.
I think we have exceeded the time limits, so
a lot. So we should move on.
Yeah, we should move on. Really.
Thank you very much for being here with us, and congratulations for making it to the finals. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
I seem to not have permission to turn on the camera.
Just a second, we will give it to you in a moment. Okay, so try to control the slides.
Yeah, we got it. Can this go back? I'm sorry, can we go back to the first screen, first slide, please?
Well,
Thank you.
Martin, try to control it yourself, will you? Control
Yeah.
all the presentations. Yeah.
Now I don't have the permission.
Try to move the mouse. Yes, you do.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Thank
Okay.
you. So, good day, fellow peers and judges. Today we present to you what we believe to be the most effective way of raising the required $7 million for the endowment fund of the IEO. Let us begin with a brief overview of our plan. So first, we looked at the sources of funding for similar organizations. Then we divided all of the possible sources into 3 groups, which we examined individually, namely, contributions received from organizations such as UNESCO, private donors, and corporate donors. After researching these 3 donor groups, we considered the possible risk to our strategy. First, analysis of similar organizations. As the concept of an International Economics Olympiad is very specific, we chose to mainly look at other Olympiads. A large part of these organizations had major differences with what the IEO requires, in particular funding on an as-needed basis and participation fees. Of the remaining, for our analysis, we chose 3 of the Olympiads that best match what the IEO is intending to achieve: the International Mathematics Olympiad, International Olympiad of Informatics, and International Biology Olympiad. Investigating these organizations, we found that all 3 have field-related corporate sponsors and possibilities for a private donation. Initially, we plan to attract $500,000 as a startup fund from corporate donors. Plenty of examples of similar cash donations can be found, such as from Google and Wolfram Alphas for the IMO, which totaled $1.5 million. We adjusted this number for the differences in the number of participants, which for the IEO will approach 300, and for the differences in seniority. When considering unpredictable variables, note that throughout this whole presentation, particularly for the variables which are most unpredictable, we have taken the careful and conservative approach, and this applies to the number of participants, as well as we believe the actual number should sooner or later greatly surpass 300.
The IEO will receive financial support from UNESCO, as their values and outlooks are closely linked with those of the IEO. One possibility is that this will happen under the condition that IEO would consult with developing countries that aspire to organize national competitions for the team selection to attend the IEO. This once again links with the implication of no participation fees whatsoever to make the IEO accessible for upcoming economists and entrepreneurs around the world, which in the case of developing countries will also resonate with UNESCO's goal of alleviating poverty. We came up with a number $30,000 per year by examining similar education-related projects that UNESCO has supported. We estimated the yearly contribution by dividing the total sum of the contribution by the years that the projects were expected to take. To confirm this, we looked at the Informatics Olympiad, where UNESCO is listed as a patron, which also corresponds to the $30,000 range. The next source of funding we will discuss is private donations. Though we will not rely heavily on them, and in our strategy, they will barely impact the whole of the fund. This is also an excellent manifestation of the Pareto principle, which is present in fundraising. In reality, the ratio is much larger than Pareto's 20-80. Nevertheless, to confirm my hypothesis, we did model private donations. So our model assumes that private donations are directly proportional to the number of participants, as the main donor group would be the alumni of the IEO. However, the proportionality would come with a time lag of an approximated 4 years, which is the amount of time senior high school students would take to start working. To then calculate the total of private donations per year, we used a measure of the dollar amount per 100 alumni, which we estimated to be around $1,000. We arrived at this number by looking at the average of the median wages of all the countries that participate in the IEO, multiplied by 1.15, which is how much more graduates make compared to the weight-adjusted average of both graduates and non-graduates. This gives us $13,000 per year, which we multiply by 2.2%, which is the part of income that this demographic donates in total, and again by 3.5%, which is the part of the donation that goes to previous educational institutions. All in all, that leaves around $10 per person.
Now into our main source of funds, the business sector. We found that most of the other Olympiads have around 10 sponsors. To get the yearly contribution per sponsor, for which we need a reliable source, as it makes up a significant part of our fund. Through a chain of contacts, we talk with an industry expert and executive at one of the so-called Big Four who estimated $20,000 per sponsor. We consider this accurate as the firm has a history of supporting similar causes and the number corresponds to the lower levels of sponsorship for other Olympiads. Some examples of such firms might include all of the Big Four, Goldman Sachs, as well as Tele2, and other similar firms, which already support the Informatics Olympiad. These are just a few examples, and finding such companies is not going to be an issue. The last form of contribution from businesses is going to be in the form of affiliation in both the business case and the financial literacy round. Firstly, the business case. Although for many this mode of living quarantined in their own homes has by now become the norm, the business sector is far from adapted to these shocks. For the IEO, this change can be utilized as the need for adaptation creates interesting challenges for the firms. We propose to partner with the firm's executives to formulate the challenges as business cases for the IEO. This would net us $50,000 per year, which is calculated by adjusting Google's $200,000 per year donation for the number of participants, from which we get to $100,000. We then divide this in half to account for the fact that IMO is more established. An estimate of $75,000 to $100,000 was also confirmed by a consultant. However, this would be after the IEO has had experience in this business. So we chose to rely on the $50,000 that is a number that we can truly count on. You might be wondering, what can we offer? Because of the vigor selection process, the IEO is able to provide a unique audience of eager learners and likely successful future entrepreneurs. We forecasted IEO's growth through regression analysis of other Olympiads and found that all could be modeled logarithmically. We then discovered that quite predictably, the slope of this growth is steeper for more recent Olympiads. We deducted the number of participants that the IEO would approach by looking at the median number of participants for other international science Olympiads in 2020, which is 301. Though, as we mentioned in the beginning, it is very likely to surpass this.
So then comes affiliation involving IEO's proprietary financial literacy game. So our plan is to find a respectable broker firm. We chose Interactive Brokers and partner with them to redevelop the financial literacy game to match the interface of that broker. We then release this platform to the public and through academic channels popularize it among high school students to spread financial literacy. This obviously brings positive publicity and potential future clients to the broker, as once again, the audience is near perfect. The reason we chose Interactive Brokers particularly is that they are the rare combination of a well-respected firm and their broker services are not aimed at institutional investors and so do not present people with huge barriers to entry. Furthermore, their founder, Thomas Petterfy, has actually said that his charitable giving focuses mainly on education. Similarly to the business case, the current situation is as good as it can possibly be to begin such an endeavor. Because of the recent online trading frenzy, which has once again painfully illustrated that investment and finances in general should be thought out, analytical, and based on fundamentals, which is after all what financial literacy is all about. As this would be a very similar situation to the partnership in the business case round, namely personal benefit with a side of altruism from the firm's perspective, the same analysis is applicable in the FLG affiliation as in the business case one, which means that once again, our conservative estimate is around $50,000 per year. So since our strategy is based on sponsorship and other cash flows, rather than the unlikely scenario of a massive one-off contribution, investment plays a big role in our proposed finances. We chose to base our investment analysis on Yale's endowment fund, as it is one of the best documented endowment funds of any university. It also has a favorable Sharpe ratio, which is basically return to risk over the industry average. We looked at 70 years of data and calculated an annualized average return of 7.8%. In our proposed model, this equates to us reaching the desired $7 million in 12 years, when the total interest will have made up a significant third of our whole portfolio. If we do not invest, the project will take an additional 7 years. When dealing with investment, however, we must also consider the market fluctuations. We estimated these risks by assessing the volatility of Yale's endowment fund, expressed as the standard deviation of the annual returns. To plot this distribution in such a way that the data are reflective of the actual outcomes of the investment, potential outcomes, we use the geometric mean since it takes into account the effect of compound interest on the fund. Having come up with a probability distribution of the expected returns, we were able to run what is called a Monte Carlo simulation, which basically means that we ran many randomly evolving market simulations based on the standard deviation and geometric mean from earlier. The output being the number of years that were needed to reach the total value of $7 million. We then graphed these values to illustrate the probabilities of reaching the target before different numbers of years.
So this is the plan we would carry out to most effectively raise the needed money for the IEO's fund. As you saw, we took a more passive, risk-averse, and data-backed approach on raising the money, while not disregarding the situation aspects which we can use to our advantage. We truly hope that our plan proves useful and contributes to the highly respected International Economics Olympiad in some way, shape, or form. We thank you for your attention and wish you all a pleasant day. Thank you.
Guys, you've got the great presentation, and I have a hard question to you. Why have you not analyzed the idea of the endowment fund itself? Because you have went through a thorough analysis of the fundraising strategies for the Olympiads. And as you could have seen, the endowment fund exists only in the IMO.
What would be the exact question then?
How do you think? Why should we use the strategy of creating the endowment fund itself for the IEO?
Well, obviously for the funding of the operations. So
yeah, why the endowment fund?
Because it allows us, it allows you to be self-sufficient and not rely on these ad hoc funding sources like other Olympiads rely on, or participation fees, of course, which are no-go.
That would be the most precise answer, but still, have you analyzed, can it work? Is it feasible?
Can we sufficiently fund the IEO? Yes, well, we assumed a 4% withdrawal rate from the endowment fund in our model, which I believe should be sufficient, yes. But not in the first years. In the first years, the IEO would also have to rely on these specific donations without investing them.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. So your main source of funding, initial source of funding, is the amount is $830,000, right? That will grow successfully over 12 years span to $7 million, correct?
Yes, but with yearly contributions, which we also discussed.
Yeah. So what made you think that initial source of funding will be this exact amount?
Well, basically, we looked at what IMO actually received it wasn't when they started out, but in 2001, I believe, and we essentially equate this startup funding to a large one-off contribution, which it is, and so we compared it mostly to Google's donation to the IMO and adjusted it for differences in establishment and the number of participants.
See, so you used the approach like analog, right? Okay.
Yes, yes. And also, I wanted to add, in our model, although it sounds like much, the 800,000 at first doesn't even impact the number of years that much. So it would, at most, affect. You can see the in this graph that the upfront contributions actually are the light blue square in the middle of the bars, which makes up a very little portion of the whole fund.
I see. And another guesstimation question is about number of national finalists. How you get up to the number 1,700?
This was actually from the IEO's website where these numbers are listed. So the 50,000 and the 1,700 finalists.
I see. Thank you so much.
If you were to allocate the endowment fund around the world, what country would you choose? And why?
Yes, so we believe, first of all, what we didn't mention, but in order to pursue this, it would be good to create a separate entity, which would be the International Economics Olympiad Foundation. And we would establish this entity somewhere where it is simply favorable from the tax side. So Netherlands, for example, yeah, Netherlands might work.
Do you see any reasons why we shouldn't invest the funds raised in the first years so we shorten the path?
Yes, this is actually what I also wanted to discuss, which is that many of these other teams actually, as we did, greatly consider the returns on investment. However, if the goal is to raise the exact $7 million as quickly as possible, you cannot really rely on these investments, because at first it might seem like it basically, as you said, shortens the path to 7 million. However, if you assume a market return of, let's say, 7%, then it means that if you include it in your calculations, that you plan to invest the whole of the money. And first of all, you can't invest the whole of the money at first because you have to cover the operational costs. And the second thing is that fluctuations, economic downturns, for example, like right now, brought on by the coronavirus, might essentially destroy your whole fund in a few months or even days, as it happened in March, because and it will be hard to recover from this, especially since donations would likely lower as well. So it actually makes sense that okay, we have a longer time frame because we have taken like the passive approach, because we do not well, basically rely on these positive black swan events, which would be like contributions by Bill Gates or something like that. And in our case, now especially in the cases where we would look at the shorter time frame, it would actually make sense to invest, not invest it at all, but instead invest in, say, government bonds or something like that.
Okay, thank you. It's a great presentation. Do we have anyone else who has a question?
Yes, I have about also funding. Interactive brokers is a brilliant idea, but do you have plan B if these guys just say you straight no? What do you do?
Yeah, so basically, it's the plan is not limited to interactive brokers. We might use even, we also considered HSBC Bank, which I believe, but I'm not entirely sure, also has a broker platform. But basically, the two main options are financial institutions like banks or that are mainly focused on regular people, so HSBC Bank, or the few firms like interactive brokers, maybe Fidelity, which are well, they have to be focused also on regular people, as you would not need a PR boost in the case of all of these huge, I don't know, Bloomberg terminal type firms. But okay, what was your exact question? I sort of zoned out.
Your plan B.
Oh, yes. I would say Fidelity as the second firm. And if that doesn't work out, then we would look at banks. Because we can't use all of these other brokers, which are currently rising in popularity because they sort of, not these digital brokers, because they use all of this obnoxious digital advertising, and we feel it would stand against IEO's values.
I see, like Robin Hood, yeah? Okay,
Yeah,
thanks so
these
much.
all.
Thank you.
So guys, it was a great presentation. Thank you. I think now we will take a 5 to 10 minutes pause to count everything, and then we will name the winners. And while this is happening, I will ask our jury members if they have any feedback to share with all of you, or I can conclude with some of mine. Would be great if you could share, please.
I see that Tomas is trying to say something, but we do not have clear sound.
Yeah, something is wrong with the connection, I think. So, Alicia, do we have everything prepared yet?
Yes, almost.
Well, I can say that it was very hard and complex task for you to solve, and of course there are many issues to be resolved on this path. And yes, it was, and it still is, not very clear actually if the endowment fund can be feasible, but it seems like the only right solution to create something stable, to fundraise and have a stable financing for the Olympiad. But still, most of the endowment funds are stated at the universities levels, so they are, I think, more reliable on the basis of having a lot of alumni, having a lot of partners, and they provide some incentive for those who give their money, because, well, in the US they do the taxation reduction a lot, and also they gain some, well, gain something for their children to get into this university that they have funded through the endowment fund. So it's a very hard question, and I would love to invite all of you to come and try to participate in the actual, to perform the actual endowment fund creation. That we will return to that a little bit later, maybe on the closing ceremony. Also, there will be an interesting issue to resolve around the national competitions, because most of them actually need an efficient fundraising strategy too. It might be not the endowment fund, but still, inside many countries, we need some help. So it is an interesting and actually very important, very today question. And I have seen a lot of interesting ideas from you. Maybe other judges can tell something too on what you have heard, what you have seen today.
I think that we have learned something from each team we saw. because we saw many different things, many different presentations, many different ideas. Any one of them had specified in something they knew better, or maybe they thought first, and it led them somewhere. I think if we watch all those presentations, we have to learn a lot about fundraising, about audiences, about time, because some of the teams had some issues with times, others with legal ideas, because it is important in economics too. I think if we combine all those presentations together, and only this way, we can have a perfect plan for how to realize this great idea. So thank you for being here. I think that other presentations are interesting too. Maybe we had to watch them also. Thank you very much.
I think we are ready.
I just submitted my grades of the last team, so I just wanted.
So do we have the results ready?
I think half a minute and it will be.
Okay. All of you have covered a number of interesting themes that I would love to connect between each other, actually. For example, there were interesting ideas on what investors could be involved into this process. There were really interesting themes opened about the governance strategy and the legal issues that Christos has just mentioned. And there were interesting ideas on the use of the influencers of the alumni community that we already have. There also have been some analytics, deep analytics, and some of you have even got close to the actual numbers. So it's just great.
I think the place where we had to put this fund, to raise this fund, is the question that almost no one would like to answer. Anyone avoided this question in their presentations?
Well, yeah.
It must be the most difficult part. And also we saw that different educational systems have to offer different ideas and cover different parts of economics. So students from different countries or different schools knew completely different things and thought with completely different ways. I think this happened with the judges too, and not only the students, and that's interesting too. That's why we have to have such international competitions and international interactions, because we learn always by anyone.
Yeah. Well, we do have the results, and also I think we have some video support for those results. I will not waste your time, and I will name the winners. So the third place of the finals of the business case part of the Winter Challenge goes to the team Sparrows. Congratulations, guys. You have had a great presentation. The second, oh, Alessia, maybe you can switch the video if you have the GIF. The second place goes to the team WINOX, if I'm reading it right, or WINOX. Congratulations, guys. And the first place goes to the team Blue Colors. Thank you all for participating, for your great efforts, for your great ideas. We will issue the e-certificates in the next week. And Alessia will present now the video. Yeah.
Alexander, I'm not sure that we correctly.
Yeah, Alexander, it's like in the right order that I sent to you.
Probably we have other winners, so we are very sorry about that.
Why you started from the bottom?
I have been mistaken. Yeah.
Yes, like totally.
Totally, I thought that these numbers are the...
No, these numbers are the numbers of the teams.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We are really sorry about that. This happens when we are live.
Oh, yeah, I didn't understand what Alessia has sent.
As I can see it, we have gains in the third place. Alessia, is that right? Is that correct?
Yes, it's correct.
It is correct. We have gains in the third place. We are really sorry about this misunderstanding.
I have named you backwards.
Also in the second place, we have Brainstorm, who did great and had a very interesting presentation to show us. And the winner is Oreos. They had the best presentation, the most accurate of them. So congratulations for this, for your time, for this week you spent, and all the ideas you shared with us. I think that you all won something. I'm sure that all of us won something from today's presentations. So thank you very much, and congratulations for making it to the finals, and winning them, for Oreos especially. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will name the winners again in the chat for us. I'm sorry again for mistaking this. I have mistaken your numbers of the teams for the points, actually. So if you had a huge number of the team, you were an advantage. So thank you all again. Thank you for coming. Thank you for judging. See you tomorrow. Bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.